Good afternoon. So I'm going to discuss the leader I want based on a concept of I vote. Who would you vote for next? So first is integrity. So I'll just try to present a summary of the three qualities, three I's. First is integrity. Integrity speaks about affirm adherence to principles. Next, incorruptibility, completeness, soundness. Next. Integrity in governance reforms, integrity of the state. A key aspect of a leader that exudes integrity is a commitment to preventing political capture of regulatory processes. Because a lot of the problems emanate from the confusion about what the leader is really serving. Who is the leader serving? Because as individuals, we are nested in different communities. I use the concept of nested governance. As a person, you are part of a family, you are part of a barangay, you are part of a school, an organization, a fraternity, a social movement, different types of organizations. But as a leader with integrity, you want to prevent partisan interests to capture state processes, especially in revenue institutions. Next. Therefore, you want to strengthen public accountability. We have public accountability institutions. We have audit, oversight institutions. But we also have citizen oversight mechanisms. That's what we call social accountability. A leader with integrity would work for the passage of important bills. Examples would be the Freedom of Information, Whistleblowers Protection Bill, Anti-Bribery, People's Council. I speak about People's Council. I represent an institution here in De La Salle called Jesse Robredo Institute of Governance. So when Jesse Robredo was mayor of Naga City, he had this NGO People's Council. And now Congresswoman Leni Robredo has a bill in Congress advocating for people's councils in all local governance throughout the country, to have civil society participation in all local bodies, in all departments, in decision-making processes that matter. Anti-dynasty bill. We need to limit the level of political appointments. We have a presidential system of government, and in a presidential system, the president appoints key officials. But the thing about political appointments in this country is that the power of appointment is used very deep in the bureaucracy. Next, please. Down to the director level, the president can appoint a leader in a bureaucracy. There needs to be continuing education for public officials and personnel. In France, there is a sabbatical. We are in a university. Here in La Salle, after 6 years, professors can take a sabbatical. No teaching. Sabbatical is a kind of rest, but you do it to improve yourself. Actually, sa atin meron din, di ba? May term limits. Pero ang nagsabbatical lang yata si Jesse Robredo after 3 terms of being mayor of Naga. Hindi siya tumakbo sa Kongreso. Instead, he went to Harvard University to take a second master's in public administration at the John F. Kennedy School of Government. So, governance is about being educated. We also have to support knowledge units and research and development towards evidence-based policymaking. So it will prevent a practice of just imagining policy. It should be imagining policy with evidence. And I think this has been mentioned previously by other speakers. Public education and integrity education programs being incorporated in the formal curriculum. It was Jean-Jacques Rousseau who talked about democracy being stable if it is anchored on public education. Kasi alam niyo ba nangyari after the French Revolution? So the French people kick out the monarchy. So it's the Republic of the People na. Kaya lang, kailangan ng participation, di ba? So participation requires skills. It's not just a feeling that you want to participate. You want to share something. You want to help. It's not enough to have a bleeding heart if you have false consciousness. That's why Jean-Jacques Rousseau talk about humans being born free but are everywhere in chains. So my second I is inclusiveness. Next. So it should be open to everyone, no limits, includes everything in between. It's all embracing. Next. How is it applied? There should be opportunities that induce engagement among government, citizens, and non-state organizations. Next. The challenge is how to institutionalize public participation. Now, there are certain reforms that have been pursued in the current administrations, such as budget partnership agreements, citizen participatory audits, but mostly these are pilot tests. And given the non-participation of citizens in many of these mechanisms, they sometimes are at a loss on how to really engage. On the supply side, government officials are also beginning to open up their budget mechanisms, their fiscal policy mechanisms. So both on the supply side and on the demand side, there is a need for actors, both on the state side and the non-state side, or civil society side, to engage on a level field where both have access to information and both can actually use the data and advance mechanisms that will really integrate the understanding of budget expenditures into delivery of public services. Decentralization is a key aspect of fostering inclusiveness in governance. We have experiences in community-driven development and grassroots participatory planning and budgeting. These are not perfectly done, of course, but it's a beginning. And I think these processes should be continued. Given open data and transparency movements, these are things happening all around the world. For example, participatory budgeting in Porto Alegre in Brazil. What we have in the Philippines right now is an effort to open up budget fiscal information. We have a full disclosure policy portal being hosted by the Department of the Interior and Local Government, wherein 14 financial documents are now up in the website so that citizens can actually monitor how local government units are using their budget. But the challenge is really the analytical portion. So on the supply side of governance reform, you have open data, but then there is a paucity of users. The other aspect here to be considered is really the quality of the data that is being posted in the open data portal. You also have an extractive industries transparency initiative where revenues of extractive industries are going to be posted because, big extractive industries like mining, they produce so much revenue, and a portion of that actually goes to local governments. But how is the sharing mechanism being implemented? And how is the share of the local governments being used? Next. Very important would be the participation of vulnerable sectors that will lead to social protection, including women and children, senior citizens, persons with disability, indigenous people, informal settlers. Next. This leads me to my last I, which is innovation. Use of new ideas or methods, creative and ingenious approaches, responsiveness to current and potential problems. And this is the application would be, yes. In the public sector, new operational methods and arrangements to build or increase capacity in solving problems. Because, we have local government units that operate on the basis of political jurisdictions. But then problems do spill over boundaries. Like the problem of metropolitan areas. So you have traffic, solid waste management issues, environmental problems. There are spillover effects. When you have spillover effects, you need a broader governance mechanism that transcends traditional political boundaries. It may even require national government participation. That's why I cite here the case of the Metro Naga Development Council, Angat River Basin Council, Metro Iloilo Guimaras Council. So there is room for innovation. Our problem is that we have a local government code that was framed in 1991. And in every Congress, there is a proposal to amend the local government code. It provides for a section that encourages collaborative arrangements, but then it is a voluntary thing. Next. Principled negotiation that goes beyond positional bargaining with key partners, like public-private partnerships and multi-stakeholder governance councils. Next. Political innovation to engage stakeholders to identify problems and build support for effective solutions, like the idea of coalitions for change in basic education. We already have a law that provides for local government participation in the provision of key education services. Because a percentage of the real property tax collected goes to a special education fund, where you have a local school board headed by the mayor with a co-chair from the Department of Education. So what this collaborative arrangement can do would be for the local school board to work and converge with the programs of the Department of Education. So for example, in the implementation of the K-12 basic education program, local governments can actually support activities that will help in the implementation of the senior high school program. For example, coming up with a program to match the types of senior education, technical and vocational education programs with local industry needs. So I'm concluding my presentation with emerging issues. We rely on all the institutions to solve the present and emerging problems, while at the same time transforming capacities of all the institutions to deal with today's realities. Governance is not only government. Solving today's collective action problems require collaborative governance. So we go back to our 3 I's. Our last slide is about I voting for 2016 on the basis of finding out who are the leaders with integrity. Next. Integrity, inclusiveness, and innovation. This is how I will vote. Thank you.